Welcome to Githua's farm, and in this episode we shall be giving you a simple step-by-step guide on how to prepare your land so that you can plant your coffee. So this is the land that we prepared to plant our coffee, and we have received a lot of questions from our friends and from many people on how to prepare land to grow coffee so that you get high yields. And that is why we thought of starting a YouTube channel and showing each and every step of how even to measure the land so that you can dig the holes, the distance from one hole to another, the ideal measurement of the hole, and the distance from one bench to another, and also explain to you the reasons and to why we should have those measurements. We shall also explain, after digging the holes, what next to those holes. What should you fill in the holes, and then up there, what should you put, and why should you put whatever you're saying on each hole, and why do we have pegs on each hole? Why do we have a stick that is put there? In each of the hole that we are seeing, we have a peg. We call it a peg. I shall be explaining to you why. So this is our coffee that we planted, and it is 5 months old or 6 months old, and as you can see, it's doing well. Yeah, it's doing pretty fine, and this is why we're going to explain to you why you should be very keen on building the foundation of your coffee plant. As I say, this is Githua's farm. The most important tool as you're measuring the land is the general tape measure. As you can see it up there, the hay, that is a very important tool, and that is our farm manager now starting to measure. That is where one of our coffee plants should be. That hole, we've already dug it and filled it, so he's measuring to ensure that he get the center of the hole. And maybe to start with, the first thing that we should know, that from one coffee plant to another coffee plant, it should be 9 feet. So that is why they are measuring that stick, because it is easier to measure with a stick than a tape measure. So that stick is what we used in the whole land. So we were just confirming it's 9 feet. So we are measuring where we're going to plant the next coffee, as you can see. And when you measure, you should put a stick, that is a peg, to show you where the other coffee should be. Then the other important thing is that you should measure from one terrace to another. We also want to know what is the distance from one terrace or bench to another. So that is them clearing the land, yeah, because they want to ensure that the distance from one terrace or from one bench, that is the other bench they are up, and the coffee they want to plant down here is 9 feet also. That is very important. Why 9 feet, you may ask? One is that coffee plants need good sunlight exposure and air circulation so that they can grow well, and to also avoid fungal diseases. The other reason is for healthy root development, as the roots are looking for water and nutrients. The other one is for easy maintenance and also harvesting, because it will allow farmers, or the people we will have in our farm, to move from one coffee to another as they are harvesting the coffee. The other reason is for long-term yield optimization, because well-spaced plants tend to be healthier and more productive over time. So we are confirming now whether the distance from there up there is a coffee plant, but is so bushy I could not be able to view that coffee plant. But we want to ensure that from that coffee plant to this other one that we want to plant, the distance is 9 feet again. So that now the difference from one terrace to another is 9 feet. So our farm manager will move that peg nearer. You see him measuring. That is why I told you that a tape measure is very important. And Mr. Githua is helping him to know where exactly will that coffee plant be. Yeah, he's telling him that the from one coffee to the other, the terrace should be straight so that we can ensure water retention and to avoid water going to the other terrace so that we can hold water from the rain. Yeah, so they have now identified the place where they are going to dig a hole, an ideal hole to plant the coffee. You can see Mr. Githua showing and explaining to our farm manager. If you need these people to come to your farm and do whatever they are doing, you can just hit our DMs on the number that I'll put below, because if the farm is too big, you'll need people to help you so that you can ensure that the measurements are right. So now that you've got the distance from one coffee plant to another, Mr. Githua is preparing for a stick that they are going to use to measure the measurements of the hole. And that is why you see him cutting a stick that they are going to measure and ensure that it is the right measurement. So the right measurement for the hole, for the width, the diameter should be 3 feet. And for the depth, again, the height also should be 3 feet. I will be explaining the reasons and to why you dig such a big hole for a coffee plant. And as you can see, that is 3 feet. So that is the width and also the depth, the diameter and the height of the hole. So that is Mr. Githua cutting that stick to ensure that they get the right measurement. And I told you it is easy to use a stick because it is straight and does not keep on bending. So you'll just place it and you'll have the right measurement. So that is them confirming and looking for the center of 3 feet so that they can know the circumference where they are going to dig the hole. So that is them identifying where the circumference will be. And the reason we want to dig a 3 feet hole is to ensure good root development and also to prepare the soil properly. That is to remove the rocks, hard pan or even poor soil, because we are going to refill the hole with the topsoil. That is the nutrient rich topsoil, compost or manure. That will improve the soil fertility. And also again, the reason onto why we want a 3 feet hole, that is the width and the depth, is water retention. The other thing is stability, because the stems, not the stem, the roots of the coffee plant will not be uprooted by the wind or even heavy rain. And also is for long-term growth, since coffee is a perennial crop that can live 20 plus years. Giving it a strong foundation early on ensures better growth, yield, and resistance to stress over lifespan. So they have now identified the center of that 3 feet stick or a peg. We call it a peg, and that is 1.5 feet. So at the center, that is where our coffee plant shall be, and that is where we shall plant our peg. And I told you that peg is very important. You do not remove it until you plant your coffee. So that is 1.5 feet. Yeah, he's marking it because foundation is key and we do not want to mess with foundation. And it is very important you get it right from the start. So now we want to get the circumference where the hole will reach. Yeah, the circumference, that is the circular area. So we are going to measure from, we put our center at the pegs. You see, he's marking, Mr. Githua is marking. Yeah, that is where the hole should reach on that side. That is, the farm manager is helping him. That is also where the hole will reach on the other side. Now they'll look for the circumference the other side, so that they ensure that they get it right. Yes, that is also where the hole will reach on this side, and that is where the hole will now reach on the other side. Wow, so that is the best and the key thing and the first step to growing a strong and a high yield coffee plant. So we now know where the center is, or where we are going to plant our coffee. And now the next thing is now to dig the hole. That is why you're seeing the farm manager. First of all, he is going to dig circular or around the circumference, so that to ensure, and that is why he is removing the soil with the spade, so that he get the circumference right. As you all are seeing, he's putting the soil downwards, and that one will help us in building the terrace. This is a space that we didn't dig holes, and thank God we didn't even dig a hole there, because I do not know where we could have done this demonstration from. So that is him creating the circumference and knowing where exactly his hole will going to reach. So we're going to wait for him to dig the hole, and I hope that you've gotten it right. The other thing that I would like you to know, if as you can see, there is another shamba next to our land that is planted maize, and the other key thing, or the other important thing, is from where the demarcation is, or from where the boundary is, if that is where you're starting to measure, your coffee plant should not start immediately where the demarcation or the boundary is. You should measure 5 feet from the boundary or from the demarcation, so that now you can start. That is where you're going to start planting your first coffee plant. Then from that first coffee plant to the other coffee plant, that is when now you will ensure that the distance is 9 feet. That is very important, 9 feet. But I told you, if you need help, we are just one call away, and we shall visit your farm and help you in measurements, and also help you in digging the first hole, so that we ensure that you get the ideal hole that is required. So this information, we got it from our mentor. He's a well-known coffee farmer who is from Madeira, and he's doing really fine. I'll put an overlay of how his coffee looks like as this video continues, and I will be telling you how old is that coffee, so that you can get motivation. So recently, the reason unto why we've had so many questions is because recently in Kenya, farmers were paid very well. The rates were very good for coffee, and people who had good kilograms got they got a good kind of money, and that is why many people feel motivated to start coffee farming. And it is not just starting, you have to do it right from the start. If you miss it, if you miss the foundation, then your coffee plant will just be just like any other coffee plant that you see from people's farm. Coffee plants that are not even appealing, that are not producing high yields, but we want to get the maximum of the maximum. So digging this hole like this, I will guarantee you, all it is guaranteed, that your coffee, by the end of 2 years, you will be harvesting your coffee. And again, the berries will also be of high quality, will have a lot of water, so the berries will be having a lot of weight. Remember, in coffee we want quality and also the weight, I mean the kgs. So that is our farm manager digging. Already you can see he has found the circumference of where he's going to dig his hole. So you may be asking yourself, why a circular hole and not a rectangle hole? So the reasons are: 1, roots naturally grow outward in all direction, so a circular hole encourages a uniform root distribution, and this will improve plant stability and nutrient absorption. The other reason is a circular hole allow better drainage and reduce corners where water might accumulate and cause root rot. This is especially useful in heavy soils or during the rainy season. The other reason is that circular shapes are less likely to collapse compared to a square or rectangular holes. The even pressure from surrounding soils helps keep the hole stable before and even after planting. The other thing, it is easy to dig a circular hole, and it is also easy to maintain a circular hole. And finally, the good and the best reason why we are doing a circular hole is because it makes it easier to place organic matter like manure and fertilizers evenly around the root zone. Like, you'll be able to know you're just going to put your manure around that circumference, ensuring balanced uptake of that coffee plant. So as you can see, the farm manager is really doing his work well. He's really trying, and this will help in separation of soil, because when we are refilling our hole, we shall need the top layer soil, and we shall get it from the sides. So the reason Antohe is putting this soil from the hole downwards is to separate that soil layer, and ensure that we put in, just like I've said, the side soil, like the soil at the side, to ensure that we have put the fertile soil, because the subsoil or the lower layer of the soil is often less fertile and may be compacted or even contain fewer nutrients. So as you can see, our hole is almost there, and he's measuring. Remember, the stick is very, very important to measure and ensure that the hole is 3 feet downwards and even 3 feet the diameter. You may think this is a lot of work, but finally, just like we say, when you're building your house, the foundation is very important. So that is why you do the hard work while you're preparing your land, and you will enjoy harvesting kilograms after kilograms of your coffee. So as you can see, that soil from inside the hole looks compacted, and that is why we do not need it to refill the hole. We need it to help us making the benches, and the soil that you want to refill the hole with is the top soil, the soil at the top, because it contains more nutrients. And just like I've said, we are going to get it from the sides, both sides. That is why we are going to use the soil to refill our hole. So you can see him leveling the hole down there, and maybe you can be telling us in the comment section how many holes a 3 feet by 3 feet hole can you dig in a day. It's shocking that our farm manager, while we were digging these holes, he could do even 20 in a day. It's not that hard work. It pays if you have determination. So yes, that is him digging and leveling. We are almost there. And just to remind you that the distance from one coffee plant to another, it's 9 feet. Yes, the distance from the demarcation to the first coffee plant is 5 feet. Why? This is to prevent competition or damage, because it keeps away the coffee plant from fences, hedges, trees, or neighboring crops that may compete for sunlight, water, or nutrients. Shade the coffee plants, reducing productivity. Neighboring crops that can physically damage coffee plants if they fall or overgrow. And also for security, because we are going to create a protective space from animals or trespassers, those people who pass through your your land, damaging outer plants. So as you can see, the hole is now ideal. Yeah, you can see the stick is fitting so well. The stick is 3 feet. That is the diameter. Yeah, look at that. It looks amazing. He's confirming whether it's 3 feet. The width should also be 3 feet. So that is the ideal hole of coffee plantation. And just like I told you today, our video was about having an ideal hole for coffee plantation. You can see the reason unto why we were not using the feet, because it keeps on bending. It's not strong enough, but our farm manager is showing us that it is actually 3 feet height. The height here, you can see the hole is inside. Those are the ideal measurements. Wow, that was a job well done from our coffee manager or a farm manager. So they are confirming, so that when they are planting the peg, they will know where exactly is the center. The center should be exactly where 9 feet reaches. That is the center of your hole. And the center is very important because that is where we shall plant our coffee. You can see Mr. Githua is also confirming from the upper terrace or the upper bench. And you can see even if the stick is upward, the center is the same. Look at that. That is very, very important. So I hope you've learned. I hope you've enjoyed this video. And I've told you, if you need any help, yes, we are here. And in our next video now, we shall show you the next step to having such a healthy coffee plant, that is refilling the hole. And that is also very key. I will show you the materials we use to refill the holes and the exact soil that we need to use, the topsoil that we need to use, so that we can get such nice coffee plants and get high yields. So that is our goal, that is our aim. And subscribe to our channel to walk through this journey together until we reach here, until we get to this. Yeah, you can see that coffee plant is very healthy. It's really growing. The berries are big enough. Like, share and comment. Let's walk this journey together. Subscribe. Thank you.